Hey Happy Crew, HappiDaze here, and today's video we're going to go ahead and talking about the latest Super TM that just wrapped up. Just want to get a quick video out that gave my thoughts and feelings on the TM, and kind of let you know what I thought of the first one. So we'll go over some general themes that I think I noticed as I was going through the runs. We'll talk about the rankings and the rewards, which is really awesome, probably the best part about this new Super TM game mode, and then lastly we'll kind of talk about what things we think we can do for improvements going forward for TM. And then lastly, we'll just talk about a quick news that dropped about Kizuna and how rankings are calculated there. Just nothing kind of too crazy there, but it's just an interesting point to know, and some people might be wondering why they now have caps on the amount of levels for different difficulty stars, so let's go ahead and get into that after we get through the Super TM. So first, let's talk about the Super TM itself and talk about the point boosters for this TM. For those of you who know, if you had the point boosters for this TM, you get anywhere from 80 time multiplier all the way up to probably about 140 times if you had the fully maxed boosted units. Now, typically, you'll get somewhere in the 20 to 30 range, depending what units you have boosted, depending if you have fully boosted units. So the fact that that suddenly tripled made it so much easier this TM to be able to get the rewards, which is great for newer players who might not want to have to do 35, 40 runs to get all the rewards. And then for those of us who are grinding for a rank, it just kind of adds a little more competition to there. Lets you see those numbers increase. I probably did about 10 times the amount of points that I usually do on these TMs because of this. So it was great to see. Like, I think going forward, they should definitely keep that point multiplier bonus there. Like I said, let people who want to get the rewards and get out. If you had two of the newest units, you could probably do most of the rewards in probably the first day, and then the rest, let people who want to rank go for the rank and get the rewards for ranking there. So I definitely did like the point boost for this season. I also happened to notice that when going through the navigation levels for this TM, that it definitely seemed like it was much easier to get birds than usual TMs. Like, I would say my usual bird rate for most TMs is probably around like the 70% mark. So that means that with a combination of just normal rolls or with the move, cards are able to get that treasure bird, which gives you the 1.2 times if you're doing a non-bonus map. So it's really critical to be able to get those to really rank high, and it seemed like we were running at about 90% rate. Now, granted, because I had two boosters, maybe the 100% chance of moving those spots helped out a little bit, but literally I probably ran altogether about 110, 115 runs, and I could probably count a handful, on probably even one hand, about the times I had to actually use I didn't go through a run without getting that bird. So yeah, I do like that they seem to up the rate of both the move cards and the bird. Just helps people get more points quicker, and that's what everyone wants to do. Next, when it comes to the captain for the TM, usually they expect you to at least use that captain as a friend captain for the content. They make the content really tricky, really hard to get around, but the nice thing about this TM is that you actually didn't need the Momo friend captain at all. Through a combination of either double Yamato or double Luffy, you're able to go ahead and get a ton of points, get through the content, and he's completely replaceable. This is how Bandai should do it, right? TM modes were really made to be able to go in, use a huge variety of teams, and clear the content, right? And yeah, you might not get the greatest boosters if you don't have, Friend Captain Momo, but you can get through the content and still get respectable. Like, I only had Luffy and Yamato, was able to still get through the content, do the 115 runs, and still rank in the top 500, which is pretty crazy. So I do like that, and that's what Bandai should be doing, is basically making it so that if you have a friend captain, great, that's awesome, but you shouldn't be handicapped if you can't find a friend captain or you don't have friends on your friends list, because you might be a new player who might have that friend captain. So I really do like that they kind of made this a much easier TM to go through as part of the first Super TM. And then lastly, one of the things that I've noticed, at least in my alliance, is that we seem to get a lot of cannon cards. You might say, well, what does that matter? Well, what happens is the biggest part about ranking in One Piece Treasure Cruise is that if you're going through Treasure Map, you have to get through, you can either do it two ways, right? One is you can just fight one boss, leave the sea, and keep doing that till you get to the bonus map, super maps. That's of course a strategy you can do. But the other is you actually fight the bosses on each level and level up naturally that way. So with all the cannon cards that we got, it actually made these runs super fast. And also, if you don't have teams that might necessarily be optimized, let's say you didn't pull in some of the Memory Straw Hat Stugos, you wouldn't have some of the latest units there that would end up helping you get through that content. So the fact that they let you get through a lot of those bosses much quicker, do quicker runs, let you get higher ranking was really good. So that's just some general themes that I kind of noticed on this TM just going through it. So now that we talked about that, let's go ahead and get into some of the rankings or rewards, because this is kind of where people will see the real value, I think, of the Super TM. So let's just hop over to the news section so I can show you what's new. So they do have the ranking website, but what's nice, just before we get into the actual rankings themselves, just one note. It's kind of spelled out up here somewhere. They are doing a random raffle, so depending on how many numbers your final points match, the last 6 numbers match a 6 random number that Bandai chooses, you're going to get a chance to get a bunch of gems. So that's good. Even if you only match 1 or 2 numbers, you'll still get some gems. But you can get up to a crazy amount of gems. I forget what the actual max amount that you can get is. I think it's 1,000. Yeah, 1,000 if you were to get all 6 numbers to match your final treasure point numbers there. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone actually gets it. But yeah, it'll be cool. It's just an extra little bonus that they're throwing in. So that's just a nice ranking bonus, or just a Super TM bonus, just because it's the first one. In terms of the actual rewards themselves, so what's nice is that you can kind of see what they did is they kind of highlighted in yellow what the differences are between the regular rewards that you get versus, anything else. So you can see that they've kind of added a bunch of stuff here. It's really just bounty. It's not really that big of a deal. But when you get down to here is where you really start seeing the awesomeness. Now, of course, if you're in first place, like you're going to get just a ton of stuff. So I'm going to kind of skip over that and get kind of more to where you start getting into the ranges, right? So once you start getting to like the 50 to 100 or 100 to 500, that's when you really start getting some really good stuff. And I'd say even if you get up to the top 1,000, you still get a limited pool legend. But if you can get less than 1,000, so if you're in the top 10% at least, then you can actually get just a crazy amount of rare recruits. You can see the bounty 3.5 if you're in the 100 to the 500, a little bit less, 1 million less if you're in the 500 to 1,000 category. But the real key thing here that they kind of didn't spell out anywhere, but it's amazing, is this alternating pen that they give you as part of this. So for those of you who aren't aware, the alternating pen basically lets you give alternate art characters. So we have 2 of those right now. There's a Luffy Yamato unit who has it, and the Shanks that just came out recently has it as well. So you could do alternate ink on those 2 units. But it's extremely rare to get these. Like, you have to get them through ranking events, and before you'd have to be like top 100 or 200 if you want to be able to get some of these alternate ink pens. Now the fact that you can get them if you're in the top 1,000 is fantastic. This is probably my favorite part of this TM, and this should go forward because it is amazing. Give people the ability to get this super rare ink that they couldn't get before, and people are going to love you for it. And the fact that on top of that, you get a new limited pool legend, which you weren't getting before, a bunch of different bounty, and the rewards are fantastic. And yeah, as you go through, if you rank past the 1,000 mark, it obviously goes down significantly. You don't get a guaranteed legend there, but you're still getting bounty to help increase there, get more gems there. So it's still nice that you're getting just free stuff there. So that is the kind of the personal rewards there. But if you go to the actual if you scroll down a little bit farther here, you can just see some additional gem rewards, but these are all new things as well. Like I said, we won't focus on the first top 100 because most people probably aren't looking for that in this video. But once again, once you start getting past that, you can see you get more legends, right? So these aren't limited pool legends like you saw in the previous screen there as I was sliding up, but still, you basically get 2 new legends that you weren't getting before just by participating in these alliance battles, which is fantastic. And you get more bounty, and yeah, so it's hard to complain when Bandai gives free stuff, right? That's what we want to do, is give people the ability, especially newer players that are coming into the game, giving them the ability to get new legends or more legends is fantastic. That gets people involved, gets them to stick around. They can build PvP teams. They can do all those kind of things that you want your new player base to build. So that is fantastic that Bandai is doing that. And then also, besides the Alliance personal ranking rewards, which is what we were just looking at, they have Alliance mission rewards, really just doing clears. So I'm going to skip to the bottom. So most alliances have 10 members if you have a full alliance. So as long as each member of your alliance over a 4-day period does 10 runs of TM, basically you can get this 100 clear awesomeness, which is just another red, right? Which is fantastic. You get a red for 30 clears too, so you get a total of 2 additional red tickets, as well as a ton of level and break materials. This is fantastic. This I give Bandai a lot of grief and a lot of harsh criticism for things that they do that seem really predatory or that are geared towards money. But this is not one of them. This was a nice thing that they added for free to the player base. As long as you play, you get these rewards, which is fantastic. Like I said, give newer players a chance to still get some reds or some legends they might not have, and even newer players, you get a chance of pulling some additional legends too. So I love it. I think that's fantastic that they implemented this for the Super TM. Super excited that they did this, and I hope that they keep these kind of rewards going forward, because I think that will keep people motivated to go ahead and keep playing the TM mode. So that's kind of the personal rankings that come and the changes to the rankings as part of this Super TM. So let's just talk about real quick, some things I still think could use some improvement or, tweaks in the TM mode. Whether it's TM or Super TM doesn't matter. But I think one of the things that I noticed while I was going through is while the nav cards were really good for this TM, the raising the nav levels seemed really bad. Like, I think almost every poster that I had was only a 30% nav rate increase. And it's horrible. It fails. It's kind of a waste of a card when you get one of those. And yes, I understand that they want you to get the extra point boosters, right? If you had the Momonosuke, it would increase that chance to a higher level. But really, I think if you're pulling a navigation card level from a blue card, it should be 50% off the bat. If you pull it from a yellow card, it should be either 75% or higher. And then, if you get it any other way, it should be higher than that. So it would be nicer if they just made that a little bit higher, the percentage chance. Maybe if they said, if it's 50 if you have blue, if it's 75 if you have yellow, and maybe if you have the Momonosuke, it goes up to 100%, or whatever the boosted TM legend is, it goes up to 100%. I think it would just be nicer if they raised that boost rate of nav levels. Would just help people get higher nav levels, better ranking, things like that. And then lastly, one common complaint that I heard across my alliance and across others is the loading wheel. So I understand they've implemented a whole bunch of mechanics in the last couple updates that really increased the friends list and things like that. But now to actually find a friend captain for some of these boss battles, it took a good 10-15 seconds before it came back with the actual list of captains to choose, which is just like an eternity when you're waiting. So I hope they figure it out. Like I said, growing pains sometimes with how things go. But yeah, I really hope that they come back and really figure out what to do for that loading wheel, because that was it. If you're not going for top 100, it's probably not as big of a deal. But still, it's just a noticeable lag every run. And if you're doing 100 runs or 100 plus runs, that 5 seconds every run adds up substantially over that full amount of time. So it would be nice if they just figure out what was going on with that loading wheel and got that fixed. So I'm not going to harp too much on improvements. I think that this is a very good first try of Super TM, so I'm not going to really fault them too much for what they did there. So with that, let's just kind of wrap up the video real quick, just talking about the Kizuna that's upcoming, right? So tomorrow, in less than 24 hours, the new Kizuna will end up coming through. And basically for that new Kizuna, you'll be able to get the 6+ Akainu, which is awesome. I'll do a video of him when he comes out, and I can showcase him in PvP. But one of the things that you might have noticed in the notice is that they've kind of changed the rule set for how Kizuna goes. So for those of you who don't know and say, why did they even announce this? So typically what was happening before, if you did Kizuna, your difficulty level, whether it was 3-star, whether it was 7-star, whether it was 10-star, really didn't matter. As long as you did it clear, it would still count towards your total. So what people were doing is that, because obviously as you go higher and higher in levels, the bosses get harder, they do more damage, they have more HP, things like that. What people would do is they would go up to a certain threshold on the 10-star, and then it would take hundreds of thousands of damage to K worth of damage to get through. They would just stop, and then they would just start farming out the next one down, right? The 7-star. But you can go much farther in the 7-star than you could the 10-star. And like I said, because it wasn't points based on how you were doing, what difficulty it was, people were just getting mass points that way. So what Bandai kind of did to get around that is they've now implemented some, call it boundaries of what they could do. So for 3-star, after 100 nav levels, it will no longer give any additional points more than what it gives. So you're kind of maxed out at that 100 level. For 7-star, it's 150, so it's a little bit higher. And then for the 10-star, it's unlimited. But Bandai really did this just to stop people from kind of farming the lower levels. People would just get teams that could just one-hit kill. And, you'd be able to clear runs in mere seconds on the 3-star or the 7-star, whereas the 10-star is obviously much more difficult, would take much more time. So they've kind of tried to not eliminate it totally, but at least limit it down a little bit to give people a little bit more of a fair advantage. So I like to see that. I think that was a good change. Some people might not like it. I can understand if you're, people who are in guilds that are going for super high ranking. Obviously, that makes it a little bit more difficult. They'll still be able to use this strategy, no doubt, because it still has a good amount of bandwidth in there. But they won't be able to get nearly probably as high a rank as they could in the past. So that's why that came out. Just I know some people were wondering why they made that change, and unless you were kind of in that high-ranking community, you might not understand why they decided to implement that. So just wanted to let you guys know. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for me today. I'm going to have a Kizuna video out tomorrow with some of the teams that you can use for Kizuna. So look forward to that. And of course, until next time, be kind to each other. Thanks.